Have you ever, like just stopped and thought about how much stuff you buy online now? Groceries, clothes, gadgets.
Yeah.
It's all just a few clicks away, right?
Right. It's really shifted from being kind of a novelty to this massive economic engine. It's changing everything.
Exactly. And today we're really going to dive deep into the global e-commerce market. We want to get a handle on the scale, but also like what does it actually mean for you for how trade works digitally?
Yeah. And we're using some really comprehensive analysis here from cognitive market research. It maps out the growth, the regional differences, everything, looking ahead to 2033.
Okay.
So our goal today isn't just to throw numbers at you, but to kind of unpack what's important, find the surprises, and help you really grasp the huge changes happening.
Absolutely. Let's get into those, well, frankly, mind-boggling figures, see who's really leading the pack and figure out the impact, the ripples for all of us. Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around the scale first. The global e-commerce market. It's just astonishing, really.
It really is.
The report sees it going from, about $15.8 trillion back in 2021
Yeah, around that.
to a projected $92.8 trillion by 2033. That's almost $93 trillion.
It's staggering. And that's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of nearly 16%. 15.892% to be exact.
Wow. So almost 16% year-on-year growth on those massive numbers. That's not just growth. That's like adding huge economies every few years just through online sales.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, I think, is how fast all the different pieces are coming together to fuel this.
Right.
It's not just, people buying more stuff. These numbers, they point to a really fundamental change in how we exchange goods, services, everything globally.
So what's the why behind that $93 trillion forecast?
Well, it boils down to a few key things converging. Widespread digitization, obviously.
Yeah.
Then there's mobile commerce. Everyone's got a smartphone, right?
Right, mem-commerce.
And just generally, people are spending more online more often. It's this convergence. It's creating this incredible expansion. It feels like a permanent shift, not just a temporary thing.
Okay, that sets a huge global stage. But, while the big number is impressive, the story probably gets more interesting when you look region by region, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's not uniform growth at all. Different areas have different dynamics.
So where are things really heating up? Let's kick things off with North America.
Okay, North America. In 2021, it was already significant, almost $5.8 trillion
Right.
projection, over $32 trillion by 2033. And no surprise, the U.S. is the giant there. It's expected to hit over $26 trillion itself.
$26 trillion just for the U.S.?
Yeah. It's mature, sure, but still growing really strongly. And Canada and Mexico aren't small players either. Canada's looking at over $3.6 trillion. Mexico around $2.4 trillion by 2033. So it's broad growth across the continent.
Okay, so a strong base getting much stronger. Let's hop across the Atlantic. How's Europe looking?
Europe's also on a really impressive path. Started around $3.4 trillion in 2021.
Okay.
Expected to reach nearly $19 trillion, $18.8 trillion by 2033.
So who's leading the charge in Europe?
Germany is the powerhouse there, forecast to go past $4.5 trillion. The UK is also very strong, projected over $2.5 trillion.
Right.
But it's not just them. France, Italy, Spain, they're all looking at multi-trillion-dollar markets by 2033. And you also see really solid growth in places like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland. Even smaller places like Luxembourg show steady gains. It shows how deeply digital commerce has penetrated across Europe.
Okay, interesting. Now, you mentioned different dynamics. The Asia-Pacific region often comes up as, explosive. What's the story there?
Yeah, explosive is a good word for it. APAC has the highest regional CAGR, almost 17%, 16.818%.
Wow.
So the market value jumps from about $4.3 trillion in 2021 to a projected, wait for it, $27.8 trillion by 2033.
$27.8 trillion. That's enormous. It's set to overtake North America eventually at that rate. So what's behind that level of acceleration in APAC? It can't just be population, right?
No, it's definitely more than just population, though. That helps. It's a mix of factors, some quite unique to the region. Think about those super apps you see.
Like WeChat.
Exactly, like WeChat in China or Grab in Southeast Asia. They blend shopping, payments, social media, everything seamlessly. It makes buying stuff online almost frictionless.
Ah.
And then there's the whole live commerce phenomenon. Influencers selling products on live streams. It drives huge engagement, huge impulse buys. These aren't just small trends. They fundamentally change how people shop there.
Fascinating. So who are the big players within APAC?
Well, China is obviously the giant, projected to hit over $9.2 trillion. But India's growth rate is incredible. The highest individual CGR at over 18%.
18%.
Yeah, jumping from around $466 billion to nearly $3.4 trillion. Huge leap. Then you have Japan, South Korea, both becoming multi-trillion-dollar markets,
Yeah.
plus strong growth across Southeast Asia, Australia, Taiwan. It's really dynamic.
Okay, let's head south. What about South America?
South America's also seeing really solid expansion. It's going from just over $1 trillion in 2021 to projected over $6.4 trillion by 2033.
And who's leading there?
Brazil is the largest market, forecast to hit over $2.3 trillion.
Yeah.
But you also see Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Peru, all showing significant growth, often hundreds of billions each. A lot of that is driven by, more smartphones, a younger population really adopting online services.
Makes sense. Okay, two more regions, the Middle East. The report mentioned digital penetration and smartphones driving growth there.
That's right. The Middle East is growing strongly from about $838 billion towards over $5 trillion by 2033.
5 trillion.
Yeah. And you see countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey projected to cross the $1 trillion mark each. The UAE, Egypt, Qatar also looking at figures over $500 billion. It's a region really leaning into digital transformation, lots of investment, young population again.
Okay, and finally, Africa, starting from a smaller base but still expanding.
Definitely expanding. From around $427 billion in 2021. The forecast is over $2.5 trillion by 2033.
2.5 trillion.
Yes. South Africa is leading the way, projected to get close to $1 trillion itself, around $950 billion. Nigeria also shows really significant growth, aiming for over $400 billion.
Right.
And, connecting this back to the bigger picture, it just shows how truly global this whole e-commerce thing is now.
Yeah.
It's reaching everywhere, sometimes leapfrogging older infrastructure because everyone's got a phone.
Yeah.
Africa has huge potential there.
So bringing it all together, what does this whirlwind tour mean for you, our listener, trying to make sense of all this? We've heard the big drivers. Digitization, mobile, consumer spending, they seem universal.
They are the core drivers, yes.
Yeah.
But as we saw, the pace of change, the specific ways e-commerce manifests, like those super apps or live selling, that varies a lot region by region.
Right.
The key takeaway is that every region, every country almost, is playing a part. It's setting the stage for this, unprecedented level of global digital trade.
And the implications of that are huge.
Absolutely huge. Think about logistics. How do you deliver all that stuff? Supply chains are being totally rethought. Think about jobs. New kinds of jobs are emerging. Others might fade. Business models have to adapt constantly. Even just our daily lives, how we shop, how we access services, it's all changing.
It really touches everything.
It does, and it opens up massive opportunities, too, for innovation, for new businesses to enter the market.
It's clear we're in the middle of a massive shift, going from those early online stores to a potential $93 trillion market by 2033. It's just, breathtaking.
It really is. The analysis from Cognitive Market Research paints this very clear picture. A world getting more and more connected through digital buying and selling, which, leaves us with a really interesting question to think about.
Go on.
As this e-commerce explosion continues towards 2033, what kind of completely new industries or maybe unexpected business models or even societal shifts do you think might emerge from all this digital activity?
That is a great question to ponder, a perfect place to wrap up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep exploring, keep asking questions. There's always more to learn.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking on a huge topic, something that's really reshaped modern life. The global e-commerce market.
That's right. It affects pretty much everyone.
Exactly. And our mission here is simple. We want to get you, our listener, quickly up to speed. We're not just scratching the surface.
No, definitely not.
We're aiming to pull out those key insights. What's really driving this explosive growth, the big challenges it's bumping up against, and maybe the most interesting part, the trends that are defining how we're all going to be shopping online, maybe even sooner than we think.
And just to be clear, this deep dive, it's grounded in some solid research, specifically insights from cognitive market research. So we've got a good foundation for this.
Good. Reliable data.
Yeah, and it's crucial to get a handle on this because, the market isn't static, is it? It's constantly shifting, evolving.
Always moving.
Understanding those shifts is really important for you listening, whether you're, running a business, just buying things, or even if you're just curious about what makes the modern economy tick.
Okay, so let's unpack some of that. The research points to some really strong drivers. We hear a lot about internet access, smartphones.
Sure, the basics.
But here's a number that jumped out at me. Did you know over 70% of global e-commerce sales now happen on mobile devices?
70%. That's huge.
It's not just about convenience anymore, is it? It's like
Yeah.
it fundamentally changes how we even find products, how we make those snap decisions. It's a mobile-first world now.
Absolutely. And that connects right into the next big thing, convenience and accessibility. And it's more than just being able to shop 24/7.
Right. What else?
Well, think about things like instant price comparisons or getting stuff delivered right to your door. These aren't just features, they're actually sort of lowering the mental barrier for buying bigger ticket items online.
Ah, I see. Makes it feel less risky somehow.
Exactly. And it's not just reaching, busy city folks, it's connecting whole regions that maybe didn't have easy access before. It opens up a global marketplace for them.
And you can't talk about e-commerce without talking payments, right?
Yeah.
The digital payment systems have been kind of a quiet revolution.
Oh, definitely. Secure, fast options, think mobile wallets, or especially the buy now, pay later trend.
That's everywhere now.
It really is. And it's clever because it doesn't just make paying easier. It breaks down the costs, makes bigger purchases feel, well, more manageable. And that, surprisingly, builds a lot of trust and keeps customers coming back.
Interesting link to loyalty, but it can't all be smooth sailing. This digital boom, it must have its downsides, its challenges.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a utopia. A major constraint, one we talk about but maybe don't fully grasp the scale of, is data security.
Beyond just the big data breaches we hear about.
Yeah, way beyond. Think about things like sophisticated bot attacks, click fraud. That stuff costs the industry billions every year, and it hurts smaller players the most, skews the data everyone relies on.
Wow, billions. That's an invisible cost almost.
It is, and it chips away at trust in ways you, as a consumer, might not even realize.
Okay, so those are the digital threats. What about like real-world stuff, things getting stuck?
Right. Logistics and regulations, that's another huge headache. Imagine trying to navigate the maze of different laws across countries, consumer protection, data privacy like GDPR, customs duties.
Sounds complicated.
It really is. It adds massively to the cost of doing business, especially internationally. Companies basically have to become legal experts. And then, yeah, the physical side,
Infrastructure.
roads, warehouses.
Exactly. In lots of developing areas, poor transport links or just inefficient supply chains mean delays and higher costs.
Yeah.
Sometimes getting a package delivered feels like, well, solving a huge puzzle.
So despite those headwinds, those challenges, e-commerce isn't slowing down. It's actually finding new ways forward. What are some of the really exciting innovations shaping the future here?
Well, one thing that's exploding is social commerce. You see it on platforms like Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, you can buy right in the app now.
Precisely. They're not just for ads anymore. They're becoming actual shopping destinations. Discovery and buying happen almost instantly. It's this blend of entertainment and shopping.
There are people in the moment.
Right. And it's really changing how people buy, especially younger generations.
I've noticed that blurring. And technology itself, AI, seems to be everywhere. How is that playing a role in making things more, say, personal?
That's a great point. AI is doing much more than just powering chatbots, though that's part of it. It's driving what they call hyper-personalization.
Hyper-personalization.
Yeah, sophisticated algorithms predicting what you might want to buy next, sometimes with stary accuracy. They look at your browsing, compare it to wider trends.
And suggest things I didn't even know I needed.
Kind of. It really streamlines things for both the shopper and the business. It's like having a mind-reading personal shopper, almost.
Okay, fascinating. And one last trend the research highlights. This growing focus on sustainability and ethical shopping.
Yes, that's becoming huge. Consumers are really starting to, vote with their wallets. They're actively looking for brands that match their values on the environment or social issues.
So it's more than just marketing buzzwords.
It seems to be. Companies are responding with real changes, like genuinely eco-friendly packaging, trying carbon-neutral delivery, being more transparent about where products come from.
Building trust that way.
Exactly. It creates a stronger connection, builds real loyalty for the brands that are actually, walking the walk. So just to kind of wrap up the core points. The e-commerce market is moving incredibly fast. It's driven by these huge shifts like everyone being online, mobile access, the sheer convenience.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
But it's also constantly dealing with big challenges. We talked about cyber threats, those complex global logistics.
Yeah.
It's always being tested.
But it keeps adapting.
It really does. Shows a lot of resilience, a lot of ingenuity.
And as we look forward, it seems pretty clear that technology, AI, all that, plus what we consumers want, our changing preferences, it's all pushing towards a digital marketplace. It's, well, smarter, maybe more inclusive, and definitely more focused on ethics.
That seems to be the direction, yes.
So here's something for you to think about. As e-commerce keeps changing, adapting to our values and the tech available, what choices might you make personally to shape your shopping, to align it with the kind of digital marketplace you actually want to see?